And the whole room goes quiet. I hate when people tell me about their D&D games, and so I totally get anybody zoning out during this story.
I asked
so for this is my only and most interesting game story ever. Are we on?
Yes.
Okay, so background on this game, for you don't know, Deadlands is Weird West. It's 1877. The Civil War is still going on. The Native Americans basically did a war dance summoning ritual that released all the Manitous into the world, which released magic powers. The dead rose, monsters, demons, things like that. All kinds of weird shit happened. Well, my friend Eric Dillard wants to run the game, but he wants to keep the game kind of low weird. So, like, not everyone's aware of weird shit happening. So our game starts in a small town. There's a dispute between cattle barons and sheep herders. And of course, the sheep herders are mostly Irish, and the cattle barons have been here a little bit longer, and they're disputing over land. Well, a railroad starts to come through, and they're buying up all the land, and they're offering money to buy up all these ranches and stuff. So this is the background. At one point, we start finding mutilated cattle and mutilated sheep. Something weird is killing the livestock. As players, we know it's a monster, but as our characters, we don't know it's a monster. We're in town, and a guy comes in and says that something bad happened at their ranch. It's a sheep herder family, and they need the sheriff. Well, Chad is playing the sheriff. Chad, in Deadlands, you can make characters, you choose hindrances and you choose benefits. They call them edges and hindrances.
Okay.
So for every edge you have to choose an equal amount of hindrance. Like my edge, one of mine was ambidextrous, so I could use both hands, I could shoot both hands as well. My hindrances were I was an alcoholic. I had to have alcohol, otherwise I started taking penalties if I didn't have booze for a while, and various other things. Chad took the hindrance for his character, ailing, which meant at the start of every game, he had to make a vigor check to see if he was at penalties for the game. Well, he put 4 dice in his vigor skill, so 4d4. He's like, well, I need to make a 5 on the ailing check. I should be able to make that most of the time, because if I'm rolling 4 dice, 4d4, one of them should be a 4, probability-wise. Well, it never was, and he would always be at negatives for everything during the game because his old injuries would act up. So setting the stage, he's an ailing, kind of broke-down sheriff. So he puts together a posse to go check out.
All I can imagine is constant diarrhea.
Yeah. So he puts together a posse to go check out this family farm.
Okay.
So we go out there, and some of the posse members go inside the house before us, and the scene is so horrific of this family that has been mutilated. One of these posse members, unknown NPC named Jebediah, gets the phobia of the dark because the house was dark when he walked in, and when they lit the lamp, this family is just plastered all over the walls, just murdered by this monster thing that we don't know about. So we find nothing. We go back to town. Next game session, we're not even thinking about that ranch. Next game session, some minor stuff goes down in town. My character, the gunslinger, is in the bar.
Okay.
So I came into town to get some supplies with my ranch hand, who's played by our friend Rick Willis. I don't know if you've met Rick. Rick comes in here.
I think I have.
Has the van. So Rick's character is my cattle boss, and his hindrance is bloodthirsty. Like he wants to hurt people. And like Paul Hogan. That was the name of Rick's character, Paul Hogan, because he was basically Hulk Hogan as the cattle boss, and that's his character. So we're both in the bar getting a drink before we head back to my ranch. It's getting dark. Someone runs into the bar and says, "There's screams coming from the house down the street and gunfire. We need help." And we're like, go get the sheriff. We'll meet him there. So Chad's character is not there. He's down the street in the sheriff's office. Me and Rick take off first. So we go down there to the house, and we hear gunfire from inside and screams. Guy just screaming. It's dark outside. So we go in the house, clear the bottom floor. There's a stairwell going up. Like nothing, we hear the gunfire come again upstairs. We're like, all right, whatever it is, it's upstairs. So we're, of course, gunfire. It's a horror game. So we're like, all right, guns out. So I go up the stairs first. Rick is behind me on the stairs. Eric says, I forget what perception's called in that game. It might be notice or something. So we make notice checks. I fail my notice check. Rick makes his barely. And Eric says, you see quick movement coming towards you at the top of the stairs. And Rick's like, well, can I see it? And Eric's like, well, I don't know. Do you want to see it? He's like, well, I want to see it before I shoot it. And Eric says, all right, your choice in this moment basically is you can see it or you can shoot it. And so Rick's like, well, gotta protect the boss. Don't know what this boss is. Because Rick's like, all right, it's a monster game. This is going to be a fucking werewolf or something up there. So he's like, I shoot it. And I looked at him and said, are you shooting it? One barrel or two? Because he got a 2-barrel shotgun. He said, both barrels, boss. So he shoots it. Rolls to hit. Crits on the hits. Max damage just about. And shotguns did fucking horrible damage at close range in that game. And Eric says the top of a woman's torso falls in your arms, basically, as my gunfighter. As this dude, basically, we just killed a woman in this house. And it was like, oh, shit. So we like set her body down, and we still hear the screams of the gunfire and a guy screaming, get away from me, leave me alone, it's coming for me. So we're like, oh shit, whatever's in here is still in here. So we're like, oh man, we just killed this woman. And Rick's like, oh well, and he just reloads his shotgun. So we proceed down the hall. And there's like gunfire coming through the door in the hallways, and we're like laying on the floor. Chad's character gets to the house. At the beginning of the game, he has failed his vigor check once again, so he's at high negatives for doing everything. It's
impossible to imagine Chad's character not just being Chad and a sheriff.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we're upstairs, and we're yelling at the guy. And we're like, this is Jebediah's house. I think we just killed Jebediah's wife. But we don't say that to him. We're like, so we go in the room, and there's this dude. He's trying to light a lantern, and he's got a shotgun. And like, he takes a shot at Rick as Rick comes around the door, misses or some tackle him. I tackle him. I'm like, we're not killing anybody else. Tackle him, pistol whip him, beat him down. But he's trying to light his lantern. He couldn't get his lantern lit. So Chad's coming up the stairs at this point. There's blood all over the stairs from Jebediah's wife. Eric says, you need to make a dexterity check to not slip with the blood. Oh, there. The dexterity is based off of vigor. And he's like, you need a 4. So Chad's like, 4 dice, like 3, 3, 1, 1. He doesn't get it. He slips, falls down the stairs. Eric rolls max. The damage dice exploded in that game too. So he's going to take like a D6. He's like 6, 6, 6. So Chad's character gets knocked the fuck out cold, falling down these stairs. So we get Jebediah up. We like tie his hands up, and he's screaming about like, oh, they're coming to get me. So Rick's like, man, it's like, Eric's like, oh, it's hard to see in here. He's trying to see what's going on. We're like, and he's like, it's coming to get me. We're like, well, there's nothing in here. So Rick's like, well, we'll light his lantern. And
go for it.
Hard Knocks Games, how can I help you? Are you back recording?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
still going.
So we get the lantern lit, and he immediately calms down. And we're like, we didn't put it together at the time that he got a level 4 phobia of the dark. So anyway, Chad's character comes to, limps up the stairs, and Jebediah's like, oh, what have, blah, blah, blah. And Rick goes, you shouldn't have killed your wife, Jebediah. And I looked at him, and the whole room goes quiet. Like, the whole room, it was quiet. He's like, you shouldn't have killed your wife, Jebediah. He's like, my wife's dead? And Rick's like, yeah, you killed her with your shotgun. So Chad's character comes in the room and he sees Jebediah's dead-ass wife at the top of the stairs. And Chad, as player Chad, knows we killed her.
Yeah.
But as character Chad, he's like, what happened here? And Rick looks at him and goes, Jebediah killed his wife. And he looks at, and Chad looks at me, and he knows, he's like, is that what happened, Morgan? And I was like, yeah, that's what happened.
Yes, sir.
So this dude gets hauled off to the insane asylum because of us. We find out later, because Eric is just dying laughing at us falling for his He had fallen asleep in the house. His wife came in. He was asleep with the lantern on. So she blew the lantern out and went in the other room. He wakes up, sees that it's dark, freaks out, and starts taking shots. And she was hiding up there. She heard us coming and was running to us for help. I said, bullshit, Eric. That would have been a fucking werewolf if we had to shot her. So for nigh upon 20 years of our game group, anytime some choices happen, the wording is always both barrels, boss. In reference to the only time I've ever felt guilty about actions of a character in a game. Fast forward years later, Jebediah's character comes back to haunt us, and I am haunted by the ghost of his wife and all this other stuff that happens later in the game. But that's my one story for a cool Deadlands character that I've played consistently for a very long time, because I still play him whenever we play Deadlands.
That's
and
a good story.
Like, that's our one group story event that was just like, holy cow.